remnant of the slave days, and so they see black guys as being this hyper aggressive, overly sexualized. Yeah, I agree with both of you. I mean, I just think it's sad, and I think that gay people should hold themselves to higher standards, being that we're gay and that we have to deal with
adversity.
Adversity, yes,
absolutely.
And prejudice already. But I found so much racism in the gay community throughout my life. It's really bad, abhorrent, actually. But not everybody's that way, and I think that it's a matter of time. I think your generation's better than mine was.
Do you think it's just a racism, as in like dating and sexually what you're interested in, or do you think it's like racism as in like friendship? Because I have tons of black friends. Most of my friends are black.
Yeah.
But personally, I've never dated a black guy. I've dated a mixed guy, but I've never dated let's say a black guy that was like a stereotypical like black culture type of guy.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean I'm closed-minded to that. It just has never happened.
But it doesn't make you racist to not want to date. It's not about preference. It's not about sexual preference and what you're into sexually. To me, I don't think that makes you racist. What makes you racist is like the guy I was with who was into me but wouldn't date me after he found out I was black. That's racist. Do you see the difference?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a big difference. So I think if someone says that they typically have never dated a black guy, or they're not into black guys or whatever, I think it's rude to say you're not into someone because of their race, because you never know. You may find someone who you're into that's black or Asian or whatever.
Right, and that completely contradicts everything that we try to stand for in our...
Right, and I think it's just closed-minded, and it's offensive to the people that they're saying it about. But I think
but I also feel that way when it comes to body image too in the gay community.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking when I was reading this. I felt like it went very hand in hand.
Gay men have it harder than heterosexual women, in my opinion, when it comes to the beauty standard we have to uphold. I know that you probably disagree, but I think it's the truth.
I completely 100% agree. Especially, having my website where I'm constantly posting photos of myself,
fashion stuff, right.
And I mean, there's a ton of pressure, and for a while, I did fall victim to that. Now I've kind of gotten out of that phase, but there's a ton of what I call like gay fat shaming. Just because, God forbid, you eat a little bit of Taco Bell, that it's an issue. But unfortunately, not everybody likes to hang out at the juice bar and go to 24-hour fitness and then post it on their
exactly. Because look, I'm a bigger guy, okay, and I am very aware of that. And then when I hear people say something like, I actually went on a date with a guy. This was a few years back, and we were chatting back and forth and that type of thing. We actually met in person, and no lie, he said, his exact words were, he said, "I think you're a really great guy, but you're bigger than most guys I typically date."
Well, did he say that and then say, "So I'm not going to date you," or "I'm not into you," or something?
No, so he said, so he was pretty much like, pretty much this is the end of our dating.
It was an insinuation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's rude. That is rude then. I mean, I think it's rude.
But I do. I was just like, okay. Well,
I mean, it's one thing for him to say it as a factual statement and say, "Look, I haven't really ever dated someone that's a little stockier or whatever you want to call it, but I'm still into you. I still want to fuck you. I still want to have sex with you. Whatever. I still want to do. That's one thing. But for him to say, sorry, no, bye, that's just wrong, I think.
Right.
But I don't know. I think, for me, I've gone through phases where I was very extremely fit, and I've gone through phases where I am not, and I'm right now in a not phase. So I've gone through, ups and downs all my whole life. And when I was in my teen years, I was like extremely skinny, like a beanpole. Mm-hmm. And then college, same thing. I was kind of buffy, muscular-ish, and then same thing in my 20s, late 20s. And then my 30s hit, and it went up and down, and now I'm 40, and it's up right now. So my point is that you have to, for me, I'm the kind of person who literally, the only way I can stay quote unquote fit or meet the standard of beauty that the gay culture puts on you is to literally work out 5 times a week and eat 1,500 calories a day, I mean, I just don't have the kind of body where you can just eat whatever you want and stay skinny. I just don't. I have to work.
Well, right, and you're married, so.
Well, that's the other thing. That's the other thing. We were working out all the time, going to the gym 5 times a week and stuff, and then we got married and we stopped, and now, you know, so it's like, you know.
Right, but I always feel like, especially with body weight, it's one of those things where, you know, internally you'll always do it for yourself when you're ready to do it for yourself. You know, being in a relationship, you know, obviously dictates the up part. I don't know how much it does, the down part.
But I think, though, I still have the desire to work out. I feel good when I do, but I hate it. I never liked working out. I hate it. I hate it with a passion. I don't like working out. When I was a kid, I hated working out. I mean, like going to gym class and shit, I hated it. I'm like, why do I want to go outside and sweat? I don't want to do that shit. So I just, you know, exactly. I really was. And even now when I work out, I don't like to sweat. I'm like, it's just gross and it gets so hot and disgusting. But anyway, point is you're making, Jason. I agree with you, and I think that, and you were making also. I think that it's true. I think we have a really high standard that it's impossible to meet, and I think it's not impossible. I think it's possible, but you have to literally live the gym, like you said, and watch every fucking bite you eat, and care a whole fucking lot what people think about you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So just don't give a shit. Just be yourself. Be beautiful and love it. That's all I can say.
That's how I am. I'm like,
I agree, Tim.
Look, this is how I am. This is what you see is what you get. If you don't like it, then fuck you and your mama too.
Right.
Right. I've got a great personality.
But you also, you know, I don't think it even, if you think about it after a while, you begin to be okay with yourself, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I absolutely 100% agree. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm big. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm small, but I am thick. I've always been thick. And, you know, I've accepted that. And while I do receive a lot of, like, gay fat shaming, I don't let that affect me in the nearest because I know that I live a somewhat healthy lifestyle.
Right.
And, you know, that's what works best for me.
Well, and, you know, also there's always somebody who likes different body types. There's always...
Oh, absolutely.
There's guys who like thin guys who like bigger guys who like... You know, I was talking about otters and twinks and all that stuff last night on my show. And there's all types for somebody. So just because you don't fit into what's considered the gay beauty standard doesn't mean that there's not people who find you beautiful, in my opinion.
Exactly. I agree. You're absolutely right.
So you just got to find the right people. All right. Let me see what's next. Okay.
Did you guys see, do you guys remember that whole story about Rachel Dolezal? Is that how you pronounce her name?
Yeah.
She's the one that was the NAACP. Did you guys see the interview that came out with her today in her local newspaper?
No. What'd she say now?
It was basically like a where is she now type of thing. And she made a very interesting claim that I actually wanted to hear you guys' opinion on. You can actually read it on Vanity Fair. They posted it. This is the quote. It goes as this. It's taken my entire life to negotiate how to identify and how I've done a lot of research and a lot of studying. I could have a long conversation, academic conversation about that. I don't know. I just feel I didn't mislead anybody. I didn't deceive anybody. If people feel misled or deceived, then sorry that they feel that way. But I believe that's more due to their definition and construct of race in their own minds.
That's not true. And you know why?
Hold on. This is the juicy part. I wouldn't say that I'm African American, but I would say that I'm black.
I understand that. Culturally, she feels she's black. And I think that that's a valid point. I think you can feel black or any other culture and not be it. That's true. Right. But I still think she's fucking crazy and out of her mind because the woman said in that quote you just said that she never lied about it. That's not true. She made up and said that some black guy was her dad.
She'd been lying for years.
And she said, she said her dad was African American, which would make her part African American, and so that's a complete fucking lie. Yeah. So for her to say she didn't lie is just a fucking bullshit lie.
Right. I just thought that was so interesting. I read that this morning and was dying to hear it.
It is interesting because I do think, and I've said this before, and we talked about this previously, I think, about how culture is different than race, I think. Right. And that's what she means. And I think she means that she's identified with the black culture and that's what she's appropriated for herself and she's comfortable. And more power to her. That's fine.
Exactly. That's what I agree with. I'm like, it's fine if you feel yourself to be more comfortable, in black culture or living as a black woman.
Yeah.
But it's like, but when you come out with a statement like that, it's like, come on now, like seriously.
See, but then are we going to get into the phase where people are they say, oh, don't call me white, I'm black because I grew up around black people, so I'm black.
Well, no, they're not. If they want to say black and use it as a different term as for culture versus African American being a racial term, if they define it that way, yeah. But if they mean black in terms of their race, obviously that's not true. I mean, you can't just appropriate someone else's race. I can't go out and say, I mean, I'm too racist. I'm trying to think. I can't go out and say I'm Asian because I'm not Asian. Not any part of me is Asian. I'm just because I like the Asian culture and I want to wear a kimono.
You like orange chicken.
Want to wear a kimono. Right. I mean,
You
please.
like
That does not make you Asian. It makes you Asian nice. What's the word? Anglophile. So it makes you an Asian file. That's what it makes you.
Right.
So whatever. The bitch is stupid and crazy.
But then my thing is, I'm like, she says this, but I was like, but then when she sued the college, a few years back for the
Howard University.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, well, clearly you sued and you thought you was a white woman then.
Exactly.
So I was like, I mean, because really, she sued them. What did she sue them for again? It was for...
They wouldn't admit her because she said because they wouldn't admit her because she was black, she's white or whatever.
Exactly. So I'm like, okay, clearly you thought you obviously won. So I'm like, okay, so clearly you thought you were a white woman at that particular moment.
Right. She has what I call cognitive dissonance. And I think, there's something true. She's not biracial, but she kind of acts like it. And some biracial people have this issue to some degree. When I was a kid, I literally remember the day I stood in the mirror. I grew up around my mom's family, who's all white, and my dad's family I really saw because I hate him. He's an asshole. But anyway, I looked at the mirror one day when I was 16 years old. I go, oh my God, I'm ethnic. I mean, I seriously said that out loud. And the reason I said that was because it took me that long to realize it. I mean, I obviously knew mentally what I was, but I never identified with that side of my family and who I was because I just didn't feel connected to it. And so it doesn't mean I'm not half black and half white. It means that I felt this kind of cognitive dissonance about myself. And so I think that she has it to some nth degree, the same kind of thing where she just has not made peace with the fact that she is white, which is so funny to say. How many people do you know say it's like Whoopi Goldberg said in The View, how many people claim they want to be black, Nobody.
Yeah, and you know what? She has a point. I mean, going back when I was in college, I attended college with this girl that I knew, and she had 3 biracial children. But for some reason, she always... her children were half black, half white, but she only wanted them to connect with the white side. And I kind of had an issue with that. I was like, why would you want to connect with the white side? And they're biracial. They need to connect with everything all the way around.
They do need to be both. They need to claim both. People always used to say to me, are you black or you white? I'm just like, I'm fucking both!
I'm swirly!
God, exactly. And it was so impossible for them to get that fucking concept. I'm like, it's both.
But it kind of pissed me off just for the simple fact that she was only identifying her children as white, and she wanted them to connect with white culture. And I'm thinking to myself, they're small children, so they're going to go along with what you say because you're their parent. But it's just like, what happens when they get later on down the road and it's like, oh my God, my mom's been lying to me all this time. And also, it also comes off to me is that you somewhat have a problem with them being biracial or being half black. So I'm like, why would you shame them
for being
that?
What they
It's
are.
Almost like saying you have a problem with black people. That's how it comes off to me, at least.
Well, and that's a hard thing because when you're biracial, you have everyone pulling you from both sides. My dad's side was saying you're black. My mom's side was saying you're both. They never said I was one or the other. They said both. And my friends would say you're white because I hung out with them all the time and I looked whiter then. And they would say, some people say you're black because you have your dad's. I mean, all these people telling you what you are all the fucking time. It's really hard for you to decide when you're biracial what the fuck you are and what you identify with. But there's 2 differences, like you were saying. There's a difference between being what you are racially, your genetic makeup, and your culturally what you identify with. I think there's a difference there. And so a lot of biracial people do identify with one or the other. But what I do have a problem with, and we'll move on, I do have a problem is with people who, both on the black side and the white side, who will say to a biracial person, you need to choose. Are you black or are you white? Are you this or you that? Or if you're black, if you have the one drop rule, you're black, and you're white if you look white. And I mean, there's all this fucking bullshit nonsense. It's so confusing.
It's just labeling, and it really needs to stop. It really does.
It is, and that's you're right. Anyway, let's move on. Christian, want to talk about dating deal breakers, when to leave and when to stay.
Yeah, I was just kind of thinking a little bit about like relationships. Like I said earlier, I'm fairly out of a long-term 4-year relationship, and when I explain to my friends when they ask, why did you break up, and what could it be, I remember thinking in the pits of our relationship, thinking to myself, everybody says that there are these roller coaster, relationships are roller coasters, and times get hard and times are tough, but you stick it out, and that's what